Power of Little Mix is a global original podcast with Pop Buzz. To listen to the whole series right now, download the Global Player app where you can already listen to all 5 episodes for free. A quick warning, this podcast contains some adult language. It's 2011. 4 girls have failed to make it through to the next round on the X Factor as solo artists. Dreams are crushed. They're just about to leave when one of the judges has a brainwave.
I like them together. You look freaking great together.
Hello, ladies. You're probably wondering what you're doing up here, huh? And we truly feel like the 4 of you could bring something very special to this competition. Do you think you guys could work together?
Now, Destiny's Child have sold over 60 million records, so Kelly Rowland knows what she's talking about. And you can hear in her voice that she's excited. She spotted something, a spark, something a bit special. And then, just a few months later, this happened.
I can now reveal the winner of the X Factor 2011 is...
We just got told time and time again, like, don't expect to get far in this competition because you won't. That's all we ever got told. But we believed in ourselves. We just needed everybody else to believe, and they did.
Little Mix.
Dermot's pause seemed to go on and on. The tension, the drama, he's acutely aware of just how big a deal this moment is. He knows this is something very special. After stealing the show week on week, 4 total strangers, Jade Thirlwall, Jessie Nelson, Leigh-Anne Pinnock and Perrie Edwards, had won the hearts of millions of viewers. They had become the first group to ever win the X Factor. Can you believe that was 10 years ago? I'm Sam Prance from Pop Buzz, and I'm a Day One mixer. And this is The Power of Little Mix, a podcast series celebrating a decade of making girl group history. Over the course of 5 episodes, I'll be taking you behind the scenes of Little Mix's journey. Throughout the series, we'll have exclusive interviews with Jade, Leigh-Anne and Perrie as they look back on the past 10 years. We'll also hear from members of Little Mix's inner circle. In this episode, we'll be exploring the first 2 years of Little Mix's career, looking at how they overcame the infamous girl band curse on the X Factor, and how they proved that their wings really were made to fly with their record-breaking debut album. We'll also find out about the origins of the band when I chat with Beth Honan, their creative director from their first X Factor live show, and Iain James, the co-writer behind some of their biggest hits. From their formation on the X Factor to the end of the DNA era, this is how the legend of Little Mix was born. With over 60 million records sold worldwide, more than 2 million concert tickets, 5 UK number ones, 25 certified singles, 5 platinum albums, MTV EMA winners, Global Award winners, Brit Award winners, please welcome to the podcast one of the biggest and best girl groups of all time, my personal heroes, Little Mix.
I mean, I'm buzzing off that.
When you said certified, I thought it was going to go into the wall. Certified freak, 25 certified freaks. 7 days a week.
I mean, that too. So to start, we're going to take it right back to 2011. I want to know what actually happened right after the cameras were cut and you were told, we want to put you in a girl group.
Well, we got to know each other. Like, we went off to pub that Perrie used to own and got to know each other and realised that we were going to be the next big thing. But we just sang together and it was magic, and it was just meant to be.
And you went straight from that and you got through straight to the live shows. But there was this sort of narrative when you started that you were the underdogs. You were the bookies' favourite to go in the first week. There was the curse of the girl band. You had to change your name halfway through. How was the stress of that?
Oh, it was like the weight of the world was on our shoulders.
Literally.
No, do you know what? I think we've really thrived well under this sort of underdog mentality. Mm-hmm. You know, we've always had a point to prove, whether it's from right at the beginning, you know, as a girl band, like you say, as the weeks went on, we just kept having to prove why we deserve to be there. And I think that mentality has never sort of left us our whole career. And I feel like that's probably why we're still going strong. But yeah, it was a lot, man, especially back then. We were like 18, 19, like thrown into the limelight, thrown onto a show like that. It's so intense. And I feel kind of grateful that we were so young and naive to it all, because we were just bouncing off the walls, weren't we? We didn't really understand fully what was going on until we were just in it, which was probably for the best, to be honest, to not have to overthink it all.
When did you get a sense that you could actually win the competition, that you'd gone from being these underdogs to being possible front runners?
I think we always knew we had something special, and I think we always knew we had the talent to carry us, but we didn't know if we'd get the backing from the public.
Yeah.
So like, you could be the most incredible artist on that show and be really talented and not get through because people don't want you or people don't want to vote for you. So it was hard. And like you said, the Girlband curse, we just got told time and time again, like, don't expect to get far in this competition because you won't. That's all we ever got told. So, but we believed in ourselves. We just needed everybody else to believe, and they did.
Well, even from the beginning, I sort of remember all of us fans just instantly falling in love with you and your friendship and your relationship as well as your talent.
Oh, thank you.
Always front runners for us.
Oh, thank you.
And Cannonball was the winner single. Was it the only option? And how did you really feel about it at the time? How do you feel about it now?
Oh, wow. I mean, I remember us sitting in the room and being told, I think it was like it was quite early on, wasn't it? It was like week 3 or 4 something. They said that Cannonball was going to be the winner single, and we all just looked at each other like, well, Janet Devlin's going to win. Do you know what I mean? It was like, that was not chosen for little.
Yeah.
But yeah, as the weeks went on and we started doing better and better, we really wanted to have Don't Let Go as our winner single, which I think would have been amazing. But yeah, I don't know what deal was done, but we did Cannonball and we did the best we could. Biff tried his best to give it a cool little mix production.
I don't really count our career beginning with Cannonball. I count it with Wings, beginning with Wings.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, the one good thing about Cannonball is when you won and Perrie's spoken word said, "What's going on stage?"
Oh, yeah.
What's going on?
Oh, that was cute.
Yeah.
We'll be hearing more from Little Mix in a bit. But before that, I want to delve a little deeper into the DNA, forgive the pun, of Little Mix and their origins as a girl group. And who better to help me do this than creative director and choreographer Beth Honan. Beth is a pop music force. She's been heavily involved in the careers of huge acts like Girls Aloud and JLS. And she also worked with Little Mix for over 7 years. From their first live show on The X Factor to their iconic performance of Shout Out to My Ex at the Brits in 2017, Beth has been part of more legendary Little Mix moments than you can count. Here's what she had to say about the girls. Okay, so to start off, what's your earliest memory with the girls and when did you actually first meet them?
My very first memory of the girls is I was booked to be the creative director and choreographer of X Factor alongside another creative director. He wasn't a choreographer, he had his own choreographer brought in called Brian Burke, and we were brought in to do that series, and we decided to split the acts straight down the middle. And me and Brian sat down one day and I said, okay, we're going to divide these up, but just so you know, I'm taking rhythmics for the whole series. And he went, okay, well, I'll take Marcus Collins then. And that is how I ended up, fighting and getting rhythmics all the way through. So I remember that they'd been put together, and my earliest memory is them walking into a studio. I don't know where the studio was, and them all standing in front of me. And my clearest memory is me saying to them, well, what are we going to do with you? As in, how are we going to make you win this thing? Because I want you to. So how are we going to make that happen? I can still see it so clearly now. I can see them all stood in front of me, very young women. I always called them my kittens. That's the name I always gave them, my kittens. They're not kittens anymore. They're fully fledged women in every way. But then to me, they were just so young and innocent and, wide-eyed and what is this that's going on all around them? It must have felt like an absolute whirlwind because X Factor was so big.
It's so sweet to know that they had that support from the start from you, because from the outside, they were being told that they were the bookies' favourite to go. But just to know that you and Talisa believed in them right from the beginning, it means so much.
I had a history with girl groups and I love pop music. And so for me, it was just without question that I was going to have them, because I thought I really know what to do with girl groups. And I don't know if that was arrogance or just absolute confidence and belief in them, but I believed in them. And also, it's like a red rag to a bull. If somebody tells you that one of your acts is going to go out the first week, then you're going to do everything in your power to stop that happening. So they worked very, very, very hard. Alongside my assistant who I had on the time was Nikki Trone, and the two of us together pushed it to get them to the end. I think their turning point was probably when they did E.T. On Halloween. I think that was the moment, because up until that point, they'd had a few scares of like not, just always sitting in the middle.
Yeah, I think they had those harsh comments during Rock Week where Gary and Talisa were sort of fighting over the direction of the Kesha song. But E.T. really was a moment in terms of the creative coming together, and I think everyone just sat up and was like, wow.
Take me, wanna be a victim, ready for abduction. Boy, you're an alien, your touch so foreign, it's supernatural, extraterrestrial.
I always see pop groups as people who, it's very spectacular. It has a storyline, it has a theme that you instantly get. It's something that connects to the mainstream public. And I think that that's what E.T. did. Because straight away, you're in Halloween week, you think that there's going to be all these monsters or, people in painted green roaming around the stage. And I was just insistent that they would be on a swing for most of it and on their own for most of it. And that was a battle. That was a battle. I remember that I had to fight to insist that it was just the four of them, because there's a thing in the industry, isn't there, is if you fill the stage with people, if you fill the stage with dancers, then that makes it look bigger. And I wanted to reverse it in that, no, they're so strong, these four girls. They've really got it. They can really do this. And they were up for it, absolutely, because they've always had their thoughts, their minds, their opinions from then.
So what, other than E.T., are your favourite performances? Obviously, Don't Let Go is one that always gets referenced.
Yeah, Don't Let Go. I would say I loved it when they walked through the smoke. And I was thinking, just walk through the smoke, girls. They're like, we've got this. And I loved E.T., I'd say. And then obviously the final was so exciting. The final was just, it was electric in that arena. I remember when the announcement was coming, I was actually biting Nikki's shoulder. I was off to one side of the stage and I actually was physically biting her shoulder with my eyes closed, thinking, please, 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 it has to be. It has to be. And when they said the name, it was just, and everything went crazy, and they couldn't believe it. I remember their faces, they came off and they looked about 10 years old because they just couldn't take on board what had just happened. And the whole team was thrilled and everybody was buzzing who'd been involved in it, the styling, the makeup, the hair. Everybody was just thrilled for them.
I mean, they've grown so much as a group since those X Factor days, but have the girls each grown individually since you started working with them?
They've just grown up so much in so many ways, but they're still the same. Like Perrie called me to tell me she was pregnant. And as she told me on the phone, we were FaceTiming each other. I was looking at her face thinking, oh my goodness, you're having a baby. I can't, that's absolutely incredible. And I said to her, well, you're not a kitten anymore, are you? It's just that, it's just amazing. I was with them, as I say, for 7.5 years. It was very emotional to see how they grew. Yes, I had the belief at the start, but then more and more people came on board who had the belief as well, and we all pushed together. And then I just remember their first arena tour. They couldn't wait to get on that stage. It was just mind-blowing to have a stage that big and that many songs and all these people coming to the arenas every night and screaming with the Little Mix T-shirts on, and just amazing memories, really, really exciting. As I think most first arena tours are for artists, because it's very, very, very hard to sell an arena tour. Little Mix were just so visual. You visually wanted to watch them as well as hear their songs.
Well, what's so incredible as well with a girl group is it's so rare where you get to a stage where 10 years in, they're still together and now they're the best performers they've ever been because they've had that whole history of growing and working on themselves each era.
Yeah, it really is. I think that those first years of the making of you, I think that's when the real hard work starts to get to a point of being incredible performers. And I think around that Black Magic time and Shout, Move and Salute, they were getting there for sure. They looked great. But by the time we were getting to the Black Magic, I think that's when you saw them as true. Like, wow, these girls have got everything. That's what I always wanted for them. I wanted them to be an incredible group that had everything. All singing, all dancing, spectacular personalities, accessible but cool. Just funny, daft. I love them at their most when they're funny and daft. Like in rehearsals, they used to have me crying, laughing. Sometimes it drove me insane, but I'm sure I drove them insane as well. But they're just so silly at times. When they do all those silly faces to each other and, their early videos they used to put out, they're just so funny. Mm-hmm. Really funny group of girls, but so sensitive at the same time and loving.
And just rounding up, what's your favourite memory with the girls?
My greatest memory is probably meeting them. I think the very first time, because that was a memory for me. I saw them at their very, very beginning to what they've become now, and nobody else can have that.
So we've covered Little Mix's historic victory on the X Factor. And while that's an incredible achievement, it's a completely different kettle of fish to launch a successful career as a girl group. The Spice Girls, All Saints, Girls Aloud and the Sugar Babes had all come before them. But other than the Saturdays, there were very few girl groups on the charts when Little Mix first started recording their debut album. Could they find a sound? Would people connect to their original music? And would they be more than a one-hit wonder? I asked the girls how they went from being reality TV competition winners to genuine chart-topping pop stars. Okay, now moving from the X Factor into 2012, what was it like going straight from the show into these big, important label meetings? And was the music industry what you expected?
Ooh, we were so naive, and I think we kind of just got catapulted into it.
Mm.
Did we even read a contract, girls? No. We didn't even know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah.
But I think we were happy to be being signed and we'd won. And we just went straight into making music, and it was all kind of just happening, wasn't it? And kind of done for us. Mm. But now I look back and I'm like, bloody hell, we are so wise now and grown, and we've done this for 10 years, and it's we just know what we're doing. Do you know what I mean?
Mm. So how were those early studio sessions? When did you first have that moment where you felt like you created a signature Little Mix song?
Oh, well, I think the first studio sessions were just fun, weren't they? We were so new to it all. So being in the room with songwriters, and before we'd go in, our A&R would be so this person's worked with such and such, and we'd be oh my God. Then we'd get in the session, then we'd make sure we did our homework and knew what we wanted to do and references and stuff. Mm. I literally actually just found a book that I had. I feel like I came out of college and being in Little Mix is my next assignment, because I've literally got a marketing book of what we should be as a brand and stuff. It's so pathetic.
Oh, I love that. That's so you.
It's bullet points of who Leigh-Anne is in the group, what's her role, Perrie, what do we like wearing, all this stuff. It's so sad.
Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, we'd go in with our little books and we'd come up with concepts, and it was I suppose it was songwriting boot camp, wasn't it? We'd already written before on our own, but obviously we were very new to being in the industry and having to write pop music properly that would be in the charts. So we were in a lot with producers like TMS. They were there a lot in the beginning, and that was so fun because they were kind of new too. So we all kind of came up together. And I remember when we wrote Wings, we did a lot of songs before that actually. Before that was Change Your Life with Beth. And we sort of went to Brighton and did a lot with him, and that was really exciting. But I feel when we wrote Wings, we just knew it was the first single.
I still remember hearing Wings for the first time and just thinking they've done it. They've got a career. This is amazing.
There was nothing like that on the radio at the time.
Yeah.
We wanted to be different.
Mm-hmm.
Jade, you just touched on your branding. In the original DNA era, you all had your own logos. Was that something that was your own choice, or were the label trying to push that on you?
No, that was us. That was very much us. We were like, we need logos. I'm thinking boombox for Jessie, cat for Leigh-Anne, Perrie has a flower, Jade has a bowl. It was over that. I think it's because we obviously really looked up to bands like the Spice Girls.
Yeah.
And they really had like a solid identity, didn't they, individually? Mm. So we're like, how can we recreate that in our own way?
Yeah.
And that was kind of how that whole logo thing began, which I think I was actually really cute. And I think it really worked at that time, especially because we had a lot of like younger fans at the beginning. It really worked well to sort of initiate who was who in the group. Mm.
I mean, Jade, you deserved a bow tie deal off of those early looks.
Oh my God. Yeah, I definitely single-handedly started some bow and brace trends that I can only apologise for now.
Now, how many of you remember the British boy band AAA? Well, if you don't know who I'm talking about, you need to head on over to YouTube immediately to check out the music video for Knockout. It's a total bop. Iain James was the lead singer of the Naughties boy band, and since then he's gone on to become one of the UK's top songwriters. He's written for everyone, from One Direction to Emily Sandé, and he's co-written some of Little Mix's biggest hits, including Wings, DNA, Little Me, Love Me Like You, and Shout Out to My Ex. Here's Iain talking about what it was like to be part of Little Mix's journey, right from the beginning. Was Wings the first song you guys wrote together? Like, how did it come about?
Wings was the first song we did. Me and my wife had just got back from Christmas and New Year in Australia. So I was completely jet lagged, and I unfortunately have very limited memories of it because I was so away with the fairies. I didn't know what time it was, what country I was in. It was just crazy. The girls still talk about it and they still have a lot of clear memories, which is great because I just don't. I just remember sort of singing along to this track that the TMS boys had made, and I thought, wow, it's really cool. And that's what we did on literally the first day, first session. Our standards were pretty high from that point on.
How complete was that song though in that first session? Did it need much polishing afterwards?
The bones of it was there, the main sort of structure was there, and that's kind of what you always want to finish the day with. Yeah, there was some tweaking. There was definitely tweaking involved the next few weeks, but we knew we had the essence of it, and we knew that it was really special. Harmonically with the girls, you know, it just felt like it was a real kind of identity for them. They'd sung in harmony quite a lot on the show, and their blend was very natural. So I was very much like, we've got to do something big and harmonically, you know, huge to sort of blow everyone else away kind of thing. And that's certainly what we did with Wings.
Well, yeah, it perfectly captures their talent. When did you find out that it was going to be the first single? Did you know when you were recording it that it might be?
Do you know what? It sounds extremely big-headed of me to say this, but I still, even after 10 years, will say the same. I knew straight away. I was like, if this isn't the first single, then I'm in the wrong game. I remember calling up Guy and Anya, the A&R guys, and just saying, well, if you top this, then fair play. And it sounds extremely arrogant and big-headed, but you know, when you're just really confident, that was all it was. And the girls felt it, we felt it. So I can't even remember seeing a call say, oh, it's the first single. I think whenever I did, I must have just gone, yeah, I know, of course it is.
Well, it still stands out, and obviously it went straight to number one. It's now a platinum single. They always perform it in their set list.
Yeah.
Like, it still holds up. They say it's their official debut single. Obviously, they did Cannonball, but this actually sounds like them. This was their identity.
They never even spoke about Cannonball or anything before. It's really bad. I mean, they sounded great on it, but it was somebody else's song, wasn't it, at the end of the day? This was the first song that they had a huge part in creating, and the sound, like you say, is their sound still to this day, really.
And you went straight from Wings to DNA, which I still think is one of their best songs. It's a perfectly crafted pop song. It has so many moments. Who came up with those like operatic vocals, and how did that song come together?
I think me or one of the TMS boys had this idea of, at the time we were sort of playing around with classical music a bit and sort of taking inspiration from certain things. And, we'd had various ideas about using classical samples in pop songs, all that kind of stuff. Again, it was just something that very, very similar to Wings. It happened really quickly. And one of those kind of, well, this is a bit crazy. We can't do something like this. But then before we knew it, we were like, oh, okay, well, we've done it. So I was really, really proud of that song. I remember seeing the video to that thinking, okay, they've really arrived now. This isn't just like a one-hit wonder kind of thing with Wings. So yeah, I'm really, I love that song as well. And
you actually wrote 6 of the songs on DNA. Which of those were the most fun to create?
I remember doing Madhouse, and, the song title, it says everything. I remember we did that with 2 producers, Rocky and Rufio, they were called, and they were crazy. And they just brought the crazy out in the girls and the crazy out in me. I remember that session. It was just complete and utter bedlam. And I remember Jade staying later and me and Jade sort of getting into writing together. And we ended up with me buying tins of like super tea or something like that awful beer. And Jade's like, oh, I love that. And then before I know it, we're getting drunk on like super tea. I remember recording that song thinking this is just batshit crazy, but everyone's going to hate it. But the experience of writing it was just crazy. Like the song suggests, basically, it was a madhouse.
No, and that still slaps. It's a bit like DNA. It's just a really well-crafted pop song. It gives you everything.
Do you know what? The one thing I was really proud of with the whole album is it was all a bit crazy, but the pop song structures were all there and it kind of ticked all those boxes. There was up-tempo, ballads, mid-tempo, but the one thread throughout the whole album, which is the hardest thing to achieve, is an identity, a sound. It's a great pop album. I'm really proud of it.
And again, like big question, but what is your favorite song that you've worked on with the girls?
For me personally, Little Me, mainly because it was when me and Jade really sort of bonded. But that was a real moment, I think, for me, but definitely for her. And now she's an amazing songwriter now, because she always kind of was interested in songwriting, but, she was very shy and very quiet. And I was always kind of pushing her, like, just keep writing, write all your thoughts down all the time. And she used to come to the studio with this little book, and she still does, her sort of book of thoughts and book of ideas. And I was so proud of her because we kind of wrote that song together. I'm extremely proud of Wings. I always will be. To see crowds still singing Wings now is kind of like, that's like really special. So I think it's probably those 2, if I'm being honest, for different reasons, but there've been so many. And like I say, it sounds cheesy, but I'm just super proud of all of them. I'm really honored and proud to play a small part in it.
And is there a favorite memory you have with the girls?
My favorite memory? Wow. Again, so many. Do you know what? Actually, one springs to mind. We were doing a writing session at TMS's, probably for DNA. It was at somewhere near the beginning. I think they had probably their first experience of writer's block. We just had one of those days where it just wasn't working, and anything anyone was saying, it's just like, that shit, no. And I remember saying, right, let's get in the car and go for a drive. And at the time I had a Mini. So it wasn't the biggest of cars. So me and the 4 girls, 5 of us, crammed into this Mini, and we just drove up and down Chiswick High Street, listening to the music and just kind of making ourselves laugh. And we went to Nando's, and we all ate a Nando's in my car. And, it was kind of gross because there was chicken and grease and stuff everywhere. But we ended up going back to the studio, and I'm not sure if we did anything that day, but we just we regained the fun. It kind of got a bit too serious. The basis of everything that we had done to that point, and still to this day, has always been, the foundation has been fun, like enjoying ourselves and laughing. So that's probably my best memory. None of the shows or the number ones, just eating Nando's in my car and laughing, telling each other stupid jokes and, doing accents. They're the funniest girls. Like, how they don't have their own TV show, sketch show, is beyond me, because they're 4 of the funniest girls I've ever met.
Yeah, I think that's why literally everyone fell in love with them straight away on the X Factor. you just got a sense of how funny they are.
You know, if I had £1 for every time someone told what the Little Mix girls like, I'm like, they are exactly like they are on TV.
Imagine eating Nando's with Little Mix in a car. Iconic. As Iain has just explained, Little Mix started developing their sonic identity with Wings and their very first album. How do the girls rate their album now, though? And what are their favourite tracks on it? Just speaking of DNA, quickfire, what's each of your favourite songs from DNA?
Oh, I can't even remember that album, I'm not going to lie to you. What's on it?
DNA, Wings, Change Your Life,
Stereo Soldier.
Red Planet, Madhouse, Case Closed.
Case closed, Jade.
Oh.
We heard that the other day. Case closed.
Not a bad song.
I think DNA. I honestly think, well, obviously Wings, because it's a bop still. But DNA was like a masterpiece, I think.
Yeah, it was masterpiece.
Oh my gosh, the low vocals at the start from you, Perrie, Jade's pre-chorus, Jesse's low vocals, Leigh-Anne's rap breakdown, the choral vocals.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Sweet Melody is sort of a sister in terms of that kind of storytelling.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We love a narrative. Yeah.
Yeah, because we never had a part 2, really, did we, DNA? It was said
No.
to be continued.
I feel like Lightning was quite DNA vibes. But DNA was just so creative, especially for its time as well, I think. Like, it was so different.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And obviously on the first album, you were already working with icons. You had T-Boz from TLC on Red Planet, and then you did the remix of How You're Doing with Missy Elliott. How was that at that age, like being exposed to all these greats who wanted to work with you?
I mean, it was pretty mind-blowing, to be honest.
Incredible.
Yeah, like all these legends as well. I love that the first album was very like female-led as well. Like any of the collabs were like icons that had been there before us and smashed it, you know, like Missy Elliott, legend, T-Boz. For a first record for a girl band, it was like iconic. So I feel like we didn't even have enough time to like fully take in how amazing that was. Because we were just so busy, weren't we? We were constantly working and constantly doing stuff. So it was like, I look back at that now and I listen to those songs, I'm like, oh, we really did that.
So that's it for episode 1. Make sure to hit subscribe on Global Player now to hear next week's episode as soon as it comes out. In episode 2, I'll be talking to Little Mix about Salute, Black Magic, and their scrapped third album. I'll also be speaking to Move songwriter Megan Cotone and Little Mix's dance captain Claudia Marnito. But before you go, I think we've got just enough time to listen to some messages from the mixers on our Little Mix hotline.
Hello, this is the Little Mix hotline. Please state your name, where you're from, your favorite Little Mix moment, and what Little Mix means to you.
Hi, I'm Cheska from the Philippines, and my favorite Little Mix moment is when they were formed on the X Factor, because that's where it all started. Honestly, I can't imagine my life without them, because of how they changed everything. They made me look at myself differently through their music and just being themselves. They helped me survive tough days without even knowing it. I love them more than words could ever say, and I hope to meet them soon and tell them how much they mean to me.
Hi, I'm Sabrina from Germany, and I love Little Mix so much because they stand for friendship and women supporting each other. From what we can see, they always got each other's backs and none of them is trying to outshine the other. So one of my favorite moments was right at the beginning when Gary said in one of the X Factor live shows that Perrie should step up and be the lead singer. But she immediately shook her head, and later when asked about it, she said that what makes them great as a girl group is that they all can sing and are having fun, so there's no need for a lead singer. And to me, this is exactly what Little Mix is. Women with incredible voices and a special bond where no one is trying to outdo the other. I think that's why they're still here 10 years later and why we love them so much. Happy anniversary!
Hi, my name's Dee and I come from Bexhill-on-Sea. My favourite Little Mix moment is Perrie asking how salad gets in the box. Over the last 10 years, each one of you has had an impact on my life. I've been through so many breakdowns as well as highs, and every time your music helps. For example, Perrie, you helped me with my panic attacks. Jade, you helped me come out. And Leigh-Anne, you helped me with my body confidence. There is so much that could be said, but thank you to every one of you for having that much of an impact on my life.
Audio clips in this episode include Kelly Rowland asking Little Mix to form a girl group on The X Factor in 2011, Little Mix winning The X Factor in 2011, and Little Mix performing E.T. on The X Factor in 2011. All clips are from ITV, and the production company was Talkback Thames.
If you enjoyed The Power of Little Mix and would like to listen to more Pop Buzz podcasts, then you should check out Coming Out Chats. I'm Pop Buzz editor Woodrow White, and in this podcast series, each week we'll be pairing up two well-known faces from the LGBTQ community to share their coming out journeys.
Even as a 5-year-old, didn't know what being trans was or like any of that bullshit, but like in my brain, I've always been a guy, and it was the rest of the world that was confused to me.
Sometimes our guests might know each other.
So this is really interesting, actually, because obviously we've known each other for decades, darling. But I've actually never heard your coming out story.
Or it might be the first time that they've ever met.
Hey, Bella.
Hello, how are you doing? You all right?
I'm all right, babes. How are you?
I'm better now I'm here with you. Hello.
Either way, they're about to share an important part of their personal stories, how they became the people they are today.
I remember I was in first grade, and this kid named Jonathan on the bus called me a lesbian. And I was like, I'm not a lesbian. And then I was like, what's a lesbian?
During this series, we're going to discover how each person's coming out story is unique.
My mum, out of nowhere, just goes, Nick! Your son wants to tell you he's gay!
That there isn't just one way to come out.
When did you first come out? And I'm aware that it's like, come out as what? Which time?
Right, well, we got to keep this under an hour, so I'll pick one.
And how these stories can help us connect and relate to each other.
I feel like that's what makes the community so important, because it's literally community, and you know that the people surrounded by you went through or are going through the same exact thing as you.
So make sure you hit subscribe now and join us next week for Coming Out Chats. Listen on Global Player or wherever you get your podcasts.